log into Canvas, and then obviously go into the area with the announcements. Now, this week we're going to use the Celebrity Souvenir Shop for both cases. If you didn't save yours, that's okay. I'm going to work with a fresh file as well. And we're going to do some things that are in this hands-on exercise. It's over on page 323 to 326. And I'm not going to exactly follow step by step by step, but we'll get most of what we need to get accomplished. And okay, so I'll log in the machine. I got to put that in. And I'll do that so you can see this. This will be next to the last time I'm going to do this. So we should all be kind of figuring this one out. Wish I ran the train. Okay. Hope everybody's all right. What, this is week 3, week 4. How many of you are freshmen? First semester. Okay. All right. Make sure you get lots of sleep because you're going to get taxed, and by the end of the semester, if you don't, you'll find out about the effects of sleep deprivation very quickly. Hopefully you're smart enough you've not done that. So I'm logging into the VMware. Oh, I thought it was. And the username is H. And then the password. Teacher. Let's just see what happens here. Oh, it's connected. Okay. And there we go. We're going to do some tasks with Excel that I'll launch that. Hopefully it'll load the desktop. Yeah. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to use the Celebrity Souvenir Shop. If you kept your file from before, you can use it. If not, you can start with a fresh one like I'm going to do. And that's going to be the Celebrity Souvenir Shop. That file is going to be over there in the Files section of Canvas. So it doesn't matter if you saved yours and you want to reuse it, that's fine. If you use a fresh one, that's fine. We'll get everything done that we need to get done there. And do a little bit of work with inputting some data, doing some cell referencing, working with some columns. So nothing too terribly difficult. You should be here, and then of course at this point now you can use Google to go into Canvas, and then you can, once you're logged into Canvas, you can go to the announcements area and find the invitation for today. Use it, and you'll be able to see my screen. Okay. So I'm going to go over to the File section. And I'm going to find the Celebrity Souvenir file. It's like, okay. And see if that's shortened. There it is. And I'm going to download it to my machine. So I'm going to work with the Celebrity Souvenir file. And I'm going to put it on my desktop. And I hope you're out here for me, my friend, or did I put you in here? All righty. Where are you? Probably put you in the case files. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll just redo this again. Open that jewel up. I'll go find it. Forget it. There it is. All right. I think this is one that I used the other day. Yeah, hands-on one. So that's okay. If you've got your old one, that's fine. If you don't, doesn't matter. Let's see here. I'm going to get rid of that stuff because I don't need it there. Wait a minute. I know what I'll do. I'm just going to copy this. And now this one I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to rename it. Let's see. I'm going to rename it Harmon, and this will be hands-on 2. Oh, wait, this will be hands-on 1. See, we did 0, so this is hands-on. It's 323. Let me see where I'm at here. Just a sec. Oh, file manipulation. Yeah, this is hands-on 1. The other one we did, the one that we did the other day was hands-on 0. So I'm just going to, this would be hands-on 1. My apologies, but the other one the other day was 0. But if you upload in the right place, it doesn't matter. So hands-on. You're not able to get on Canvas because of what? You know how to log in, right? Okay. It may just be taking some time to log in. I'm not sure. Anybody else having trouble getting logged into Canvas?
Well, it's not difficulty. I didn't know if you were starting class already because the VMware took a while to get on, and then now I'm finally on the Canvas website myself.
No, I'm kind of waiting so everybody can get to the VMware, and then they can log into Canvas. Okay. And then once you've logged into Canvas, then you can go to the announcements and you can go click and see my screen. How many of you can see my screen? You see Cardinal Buddy there, smiling, mountains in the backdrop. Yeah. So what you'll need to do is once you get into Canvas, go over to the announcements area, click, you'll find the invitation to this meeting, this webinar, and you can click on it and you'll be able to see my screen. And if you have trouble with that, remember I record this, so you'll be all right. As long as you've got the file up, if you've got your an Excel file ready to go, the celebrity file, even if you can't follow, even if you can't see my screen, you can still follow what what we're going to do. But the ideal is for you to be able to see the screen as it happens. If not, I'm going to record this. With me? Yeah? Okay. We're using the celebrity souvenir file. And we're going to work on pages 323 through 326 in the Poetry books, which is in the big book. Got that? Yes? Okay. Now, I'm going to open it up. And you'll see where we were the other day, the celebrity musician shop. And we had this list of products, etc., the markup, the cost, and all of this. And I'm going to cut that there because I don't need it. Yeah. And I'll delete this stuff. All right. Now, if you look, you're going to see that they're going to have us do some troubleshooting and all this business. That's all listed there at the bottom of 326. we're going to redo this table. And if you take a look at page 325, figure 1.6, okay, you're going to see most of the finished product that we're going to want to deal with, because we're going to do some manipulation here of editing this table, and we're going to make it look like what's there in figure 116, okay? Now, some of this we've already covered, things like the date, and as you note here, I put equal now, so it opens up today. It gives it a date and time stamp, and if I want to, I can go in there and I can date and time stamp that as extensively as I want to or not. We've got the title at the top. We've got who is the author of the file, and so we're down here now, and we're ready to go to work. Now, if you look at the celebrity souvenir shop that we stopped with, and this is the one I stopped with on Tuesday, you'll notice I've got the product, the cost, markup rate, etc. It does not look like the one over on page 325 because there's some stuff that's in there that we need to do some adjustments. So the very first thing I want you to do is put your cursor on column B, okay, and click Insert. Okay, and we've just inserted a column. So column B should be blank. Okay? So you have a new column B that's blank. Got it? Okay? Now we're going to come down to that blue ribbon area there, and we're going to put code. Authors want us to give these products a code, and they want us to put them into a sequence using the autofill. So I'm going to put the first code here is going to be 101. Okay, and I'm going to center that so it looks nice. Hopefully, there we go. Now, if you come over to the editing tab in the top in the ribbon, far right, you're going to see the fill. You see that? Now I'll tell you what, instead of the one that the authors use, I use the tool called Series. And if you scroll down the tree there, you're going to see it. Series, you see that, everybody? So you click on the fill, and then you come down and you'll see it. You can choose a series. Click on that and you'll get a dialog box. And it's going from left to right. It says series in rows or columns. And in this case, we're working in columns. Okay. And here I have it has a thing called the step value. That's the increment. If I want to do increments of 5 or 10 or how many, that's what I put in there for the step. In this case, it's 1. Okay. And then if you look, you're going to see the stop value, and the stop value is going to be 106. So if you look there on page 325, you're going to see in figure 116 they have 6 codes. With me? Okay. So I'm over on page 325. I'm looking at figure 116, 1.16, and I inserted a column, and I named that column code, and that's the product code. Now, rather than having to type out 101, 102, 103, I went over here I put 101 in that cell B5, excuse me. And then I went to the fill, and I chose series. Then I said, okay, the series is in a column. And I came down and said the step value, that is the increment, and I put a 1. And then the step value and the stop value, pardon me, was 106. With me so far? Now I'll click OK, and they'll all magically appear. Okay. Now we have a little bit of a conundrum. We have a little bit of a mismatch here because we have to do some work with this table to get it where we want it to look in terms of versus this table versus what we have there in 1.6. So I wanted to start with the code. So we've got the product called a hat. Okay. Now let's look at this for just a moment. And we've got this, put your cursor on line 5, okay? And they have apparel there. And we may have to come back in and redo the code, but the apparel line is gone. It just starts with the hat. And so let's talk a minute about, first of all, how this looks. I'm looking at figure 1.16 there in the middle of page 325. Got it? Let's start with the columns, with the codes. With me? We're going to have the product. We're going to have the code. We're going to have the cost. We're going to have the markup rate. We're going to have the markup amount, the retail price, okay, the percent off, the sale price, the profit amount, and the profit margin. But we're going to eliminate some things here like these when we broke them out for apparel or for souvenirs. So put your cursor on line 5, okay? And we're going to delete that. Now we have the hat. Now the hats, and we'll get the codes redone, so don't worry about that, okay? So we just got through eliminating the old line 5. So now we have the hat, the hoodie, the t-shirt, and let's come down to the souvenirs and that line 8. We're at line 8 now, and let's delete it. Okay? With me so far? Yeah? Now, what you should have, and we're just working in columns A and B right now, just column A and B, you should have the product. You should have a hat, a hoodie, a t-shirt, a mug, a souvenir program, and a travel mug. And they have, and these are not in the same order, okay? So I'm going to start with the hat, and I'm going to code that 101. So I have the hat, okay? And then I come down to the next item is the hoodie, and that's going to be 102. And under the hoodie, I have the mug. Okay, so I'm going to come up here, and where I have t-shirt, I'm just going to edit this out. I think what I'm going to do is with the mug, let's do this. Let's go ahead and put in the mug there in cell A7, and that's going to be product 103, the product code. And we're going to have we'll have a little bit discombobulation there in column A. Don't worry about that. We'll get that fixed, okay? And for the mug, for the cost, and I'm getting these data from from page 325. The cost for the mug is $5. Okay, and the markup rate is 200%. Okay, with me so far? And let's go down now. We have the mug, and then so we have the hat, the hoodie, the mug, and then we have the souvenir program, and that's going to be, the mug is going to be the mug. Okay, we've got the hat, which is 101. The hoodie is 102. The mug is 103. And then the next thing we'll do is we're going to click on line 9 and delete it. Okay. And we'll have the mug. Then we have the souvenir program. Okay. So we have the souvenir program is going to be code 104. And let's look at that. And the souvenir program, the cost is $9.95. the markup is 101%, so that's fine. Okay. So we have, right now, I should have in column A and B, the hat, the hoodie, the mug, the souvenir program, codes 102, 101, 104. And then the costs should be $27.75. Let's see, pardon me, the hat is $7.85. So go to cell C5, and we're going to put $7.85. Got it? So we're doing a little bit of editing. And then the hoodie is going to be $27.75. That's the cost of the hoodie, and that's in cell C6. So we're going to put $27.75. We're just entering some data and changing around. The mug is $5, and the markup's 200%, so that's good. Now the souvenir program is $8. Where did I get this? Off of page 325. And there it should be $8 for the cost. And the markup is still 101%. Okay. And then come down to 9. All right. And on row 9, we're going to take out travel mug, and we're going to edit that, and we're going to put in souvenir CD. Okay. And the souvenir CD is product 105. And its cost is, the cost for the souvenir CD soundtrack, that's $8. And it has a markup of 0.875. Now, go back up for a moment to the souvenir program. Okay. And the souvenir program is $9.95. So they're in cell C8, put 9.95. Okay. And then the markup rate is still 1.01. And then we'll check all this here in just a second. We're just doing some editing with the table. That's all. Now, they're on cell A10. We're going to put the t-shirt. Okay. And that's going to be product code 106. And the cost is $7.10, so 7.1. And the markup rate is going to be 3.155. Okay. And now we're going to check everything in columns A through E. Let's start with column A1. Well, let's start with cell A2, row 5. Should have a hat. The cost is the code is 101. And the cost of the hat is $7.85. The markup is it should be 1.095. So the markup rate, we should put in 1.095. Got it? Now, you say, wait a minute, it's not showing up. Come up here and increase the decimal. Did that? When I was in cell D5, I put in 1.095, but it showed up as 1.1. So what I did is I came up here and I increased the decimal so that I would see the 1.095%. Just some standard input and formatting things. So far, so good? Yeah? Okay. Now, let's come down to row 6, and we'll just work our way across here. And we have the hoodie, and the hoodie is product code 102. And then we've got, it's $27.75, and the markup rate for the hoodie is 1.2. Okay, and so it's $27.75. The markup rate is 1.2, and we'll worry about some of the other stuff. We got to get these base figures. Then come down to row 7, and that's the mug, and that's product 103, and it's $5, and the product markup is 2, i.e. 200%. So far, so good. All right, then we'll come down to row 8. It's a little bit tedious, but just some editing stuff we're doing. Now the souvenir program is product code 104, and the cost is $9.95, and the markup is 1.01, or 101%. Okay. Then we'll come to the souvenir CD. The soundtrack, I guess it should be the soundtrack CD. So instead of souvenir CD, that should be soundtrack CD. They're in column 9, A9. So we'll make that right, we'll edit it. And so it should be soundtrack. I guess soundtrack CD. I believe that's what it is. And that's product code 105. So far, so good. And the cost of that item is $8. And the markup rate is 0.875%. Now notice here it rounded it to 0.9. So I'm going to come back up here into the percentages, and I'm going to increase the decimal. So I see the 0.875. See what I did there? Just some editing and formatting things. Now I'm going to come down to row 10, and row 10 is the t-shirt, and that's product code 106, and the cost is $7.10, and the markup rate is 3.155. But notice there, okay, it shows us 3.2. You see that? So far, so good. You see that? Now, here's what I'm going to do. Up in cell D9, I'm going to click Copy, then Format Painter, and then I'm going to hit C10, and it'll show that 3.15. If you haven't used the Format Painter, I would assume many of you have. It's pretty simple. I click on a cell that has the format that I like, and you see that copy. Then I click on Format Painter, and I paint the cell or cells I want to have that format. See, so you're saying, Dr. Harmon, you could have just simply formatted that first one properly, did copy and format and dragged and dropped it? Yeah. So we did a little bit tedious, but you can use the Format Painter. If you haven't used it, it is an absolute godsend. It's a fantastic little tool. Now we're ready to go and do a little bit further work. And so we've got this business of the percent off and the sales price, and they left some stuff blank. So I'm going to assume that we're just going to fill it in, given the base figures that we have. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor, and I'm going to put it around cells. Let me see, 6R. I'm going to put it here on cell. This array is going to be, it's going to start with G4 down to H9, and I'm going to get rid of those double bars. So I'll click over there on the font, and I'm going to try to get rid of those jewels. It's going to let me, yeah, no border. and the border disappears. Okay? Everybody see how to do that? Yes. Okay. Good so far? Just doing some editing stuff, and I thought just to move the process along so we got through and did everything they want us to do, just doing some of these editorial kinds of things to get it straightened out. Now, we're ready to go ahead and fill in some of the gaps that we've got in this table. And let's look at this. Let's go put your cursor on cell F5, okay? Got that? Now, in front of the C, put a $sign. And in front of the E, put a $sign. And then click enter. Okay? And now we're going to drag and drop that down, and it will do all those for us. So we use the cell referencing. And if you look up here and you look in the toolbar there, you're going to see this is in cell F5. I have equal sum $C, comma $E5, close parentheses. What I did was I said to Excel, I'm working just with the column. And so I just did a drag and drop, and I'll show you what happens. C6, E6. Got it? Yeah, so far? These are simple little things, but I guarantee you when you start working with a large spreadsheet, you'll be glad you know them and can do them. Now we've got the percent off, and that's 20%. And they have for the hoodie 10%. And let me see here. What do they tell us in terms of the percent off for the mug? The percent off for the mug is 0.05. How did I know that? I look at figure 116 there on page 325, and I see that the percent off is 0.05. So I'm going to put 0.05. Okay? And that should be a percent. So I'm going to click up here, copy, format painter, and it's 5%. And then the souvenir program is percent off is 25%. And the soundtrack CD is going to be, they say 30%. So that's going to be, and that really, let's see, that should be 30%. So I should put a 30. Let's see what I get here. Okay. And then for the t-shirt, that's going to be 5%. So if you look at the percent off there, and I'm using this based on what is over here in this table, figure 116, page 325, the percent off is going to be, let's see, I should start off with the hat, which should be 15%. So I'll change that to 15. Okay, and then the hoodie the percent off will be 20%. And then the mug is 5%. And then the souvenir program is 25%. And the soundtrack CD is 30%. And then the t-shirt is 5%. So far, so good? Kind of tedious, but just some editorial things and maybe some things in terms of cell referencing we haven't been aware of. Now click over on cell H5, okay? And you'll see something nicely done. You'll look at the formula and you're going to see it equals F5 minus F5 times G5. Notice that we've got the dollar sign in front of the in front of the letters, which means we're working through those columns. And so now I can just simply put my cursor there and bring it all the way down, and it will fill all that in correctly for me. And then I just check it, and I look, I see F5 and G5 are involved, and I see F6 and G6 are involved, F7 and G7, F8, G8, 9, and then 10. Follow me? Okay. Kind of tedious, I understand. Maybe some of you have had this, maybe some of you hadn't. Like I said before, I don't know where we start. Now we're going to do the same thing in column I. And here we have the profit amount, and they've done a good job here of using cell referencing. And again, the dollar sign's in front of the letter, which means I'm working with just the column. And so all I have to do here is just simply take this and come right on down, and it will compute all that for me. Okay? Now we've gone through quite a bit in here of what's in these three or four pages of work. And in fact, we've done some mathematical operations, we've used cell referencing, we've used some stuff that we learned the other day. Now I'm going to click on cell J, and it's the same story. I'm going to compute the profit margin, and I'm just going to drag and drop it all the way down. Okay? So far, so good? Okay. Now, if I really wanted to jazz this thing up, I could come in and I could use the name manager to define cells. And I'm going to show you, we're going to just do the cost, and then I'll show you why we would want to do that. So I'm going to click on cell C5, then click formula, and then you're going to see a thing called the name manager. SIP. Got it? Click that, and we have this C5, and we're going to call, and we're going to, it refers to these cells, and I'm going to name it, and it's going to be hat cost. And that refers to cell C5. Why would I do that? Pretty simple. If I'm doing some mathematical computations, it will make a lot more sense to me if I'm working with names or variable names as opposed to just cell references. So if I really wanted to take the time, I could build the cell referencing into this spreadsheet so that it's easy for me to see and to use. And we could do the next one. I think, once you've done it a couple of times, you've done it. Now, there's another path to do this. Click on C6 and click formulas, and then you'll see a thing over there that says define name. You see that? That's another way that you can do this, and we're going to define a name, and it refers to C6, and the name is going to be hoodie cost. Okay? Now, I think once you've done this a couple of times, you get the drift. So I can either use the name manager or I can use define name. Click on the name manager, and you're going to see the hat cost and the hoodie cost. Okay? Now, if you're working with, when you're at work and you have to work with a fairly complicated spreadsheet, or something even like this that you want to be absolutely certain that you can understand what's going on and what's going on with it, you'll want to use the name manager. I'm going to give you a really good example of that. We'll come over here to the profit margin, okay? Now look at this equation. It says equal $I5 divided by $H5. Those are completely meaningless to me. Okay, so I want to find I5, And I'm going to define that name. And it already tells us that that's the profit amount. Okay. How did it do that? It took that heading above and just inserted it. And then I'll click, boom. All right. And then I had I5, I had H5, I had I5 and H5. So let's find H5 and let's define that name. And H5 is going to be the sale price. Okay. Now put your cursor over in pardon me, put your cursor, click on cell L5. Now, we can use to define the name. The profit margin is going to be I5, which is the profit amount, divided by the sales price, H5. So, if I'm doing accounting ratios, for example, it's going to be a lot easier for me to do this. Profit amount divided by sale price. See it? Does that make sense? A lot more sense than I5 divided by H5 or whatever. That way you could see the formula, and that is the profit margin is the profit amount divided by the sales price. So if you've got to do like accounting ratios or something like that, or you're going to do some work with some variables, use the name manager and you're good. See what I'm talking about? So, and then I'll pop this in, and there it is. It shows us that amount. Now, question, I'm over here in cell L5, and I got this minus 0.16373. Why doesn't it look like what's in J5? Yeah. Okay, it's not a percent yet, so it's a formatting issue, correct? So the quick and easy way to format, click on J5, okay? Then click Home, click Copy, click the Format Painter, and then come back over here and watch. Presto, boom. It's pretty like you like it. The Format Painter will be one of your best friends. You say, why are you spending so much time with the Format Painter? It's pretty simple. When people look at numbers, okay, they need to be given the best rendition in terms of what they would understand. If you give people something like in scientific notation like 1 plus e to the e6, which means to the 6th digit past the decimal point, they don't get that. They don't understand it at all. It's scientific notation because you can get out to how many, Lord knows how many digits you can get out there if you're doing scientific work. So you always want to present data in a way that's going to make some sense to the end user. And if you look at this here for a moment, you're going to see this where I'm looking at the markup rate, okay? And then I can see the markup rate for each of the items. I can see the cost. Now the percentages are a little bit sketchy for some of these. And let's look there. Go into cell D6. I've found a culprit, and I'm going to increase the decimal. I mean, decrease the decimal. I'm going to increase it so that it's out 3 decimals to the right. Follow? So everything is okay there. It all looks uniform. Just a minute ago when we worked with the code, it was kind of all over the place. Now we don't want them bold, so let's just take the bold off of them. Okay? And then you come over here and look at the product stuff. That looks just sketchy as it could be. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the hoodie, click on cell A6 where it says hoodie, and then just move it back as far as you can and watch. Voila, it's lined up. You can do the same thing with the souvenir program. So So everything's lined up nicely. The hat needs to be lined up. Okay? I'll move it back. Now I have a nice looking spreadsheet. The authors don't have you do this, but I would have you do this. We're going to do some stylistic things here to make it look a little bit better, okay? I'm going to come here to cell 11 and 12. Pardon me, rows 11 and 12, and I'm going to come all the way across underneath. So I'm going to go, I'm going to highlight rows 11 and 12 all the way over to J. And then I'm going to add a blue fill that matches above. And I'm going to make that a nice looking table. See how much nicer it looks? Now, if I needed to do some additional analysis there, I'd want to remove that. But for all intents and purposes, now I've got this nice looking table that's got some ribbons around it. It has nice headings. It's well designed. Things are comprehensible in terms of the format, etc. With me so far? Looks nice. Well, we'll do some other things. We've got the product. That's all. Those are all highlighted. And let's make sure. Now, I'm going to do this. Sometimes, and the authors of this text and others would argue with me, but I'm going to put my cursor and I'm going to highlight the array A5 over to J10. And I'm going to put all borders. Question? Question? Oh, okay. Now, to me, the borders inside make it look a lot better, easier to follow, and then the ribbons, the ribbon on the top and then that blank ribbon on the bottom really seal this thing off and direct my attention into the table. Does it make sense? Okay. Well, now we can do a couple of more things with this. And I want to build yet another little table over here. So I'm going to get rid of that little doodad there in L5, delete that. And I'm going to come to cell L4 and I'm going to put profit margin stats. Okay. Now, notice that what happened here, if what should have happened is when you put in profit margin stats, it should have mimicked what's in J4 and did a wrap text and a blue fill. Did you get that? Because it anticipates that you're going to do something there. Now, below the profit margin stats, we're going to put the following. We're going to put average. And we're going to jump a little bit ahead here. And we're going to put STD, dev meaning the standard deviation. And we're going to put the median. And we're going to, so we have three basic statistics. In fact, and we might even want to get the range. So let's put range there. I think I can't remember if it'll give us a range statistic or not. Now, Excel has a statistical package with it. Okay, and how to know, do you have it or not? Click on the data tab and see in the far right hand, see if you have data analysis and solver in the analysis tab. Does that show up? You got that? If it's not over there, here's how to do the add-in. Click on File, come down and click Options, and then click Add-ins. So you click File, Options, and then Add-ins. Okay? When you look here, you're going to see those add-ins that are operative in your Excel workbook and those that are not active. If the analysis tool pack is down there in the inactives, click it and then click go and it will add it. It may even, when you add it, may even ask you if you want to include solver add-in. Go ahead and choose the analysis tool pack plus solver add-in. But for now, all we want to do is you have the analysis tool pack. You got those in there? Once you click the go, it'll show up in the toolbar to the far right. Did you find it? Yes? We found it? Still? No? Okay. If you don't have the tool pack or solver on the far right, click on data. Okay, and look to the far right hand side and see if it shows you solver and data analysis. Does it? It'll be on the far right hand side up in the northeast corner of your screen. It should say data analysis and solver. No? Okay. Anybody else not have it? You don't have it? Let's walk you through how to get it. Click on File. Okay, did you click on File? Okay. Oh, you have it. Okay, good. All right. You added it. It should be, if you click Data, it should be over there in the far right-hand side. You should see an analysis area that shows you data analysis. You'll probably get a dialog box that'll ask you to add those in. Okay? Now, while you're doing that, we're going to do these statistics, and we're going to work on the profit margin. So I'm going to put equal, okay? And notice when I put in that equal A, I get a little drop-down menu. And I'm going to find the average, and then it's going to ask me for the cells that I want to average. Now, if you look right up by the toolbar, you're going to see a little thing that says FX. Got it? Click on there, and it will give you the function arguments or the dialog box for that function. And we want to get the average for the following numbers. And you just drag and drop. And so it's going to tell me we're going to get the average for J5 to J10. And then I'm going to click OK. And I've got the average. So the average profit margin is 2.5%. The standard deviation, I can do that as well. I'm going to click in cell M6, and I put equal, and then I put S, and you see the little drop-down menu that'll come. And I'm going to find the standard deviation. And you'll see the standard deviation for a sample. I want to just click stdev.s sample. Okay. And then I'm going to click the dialog box. So I'll click that. No, I want the standard deviation. All right, let's do this again. and I'll come down to S. There it is. And then I'll click the FX, which will give me the dialog box. I'll try to choose my numbers, and that's going to be these numbers, J5 to J10. Okay. The standard deviation helps us understand how far things are away from the mean. If you haven't had stat, maybe had some stat in high school, I'm not sure, but the so-called Gaussian distribution or so-called bell curve between the mean and one standard deviation above it are 34% of all observations. Between one standard deviation and two standard deviations are 14% of the observations, and then between 2 and 3 standard deviations are the remaining 2, and then it mirrors itself back below the standard, below the average. So we have the standard deviation. So it tells us about variation. Okay, the average is what we call a tendency of central. It's called central tendency. How do things tend to cluster together if they do? And then standard deviation tells me, well, how far do things tend to be away from the mean? Then I have a thing called median, which is the middle score. And so we'll just do this again. I'm going to equal M, and I'm going to find the median. Click on that. And then I come back up here and I click the dialog box and I grab those figures and I've got the median. Okay. That's the middle score. And then the range. Let's see if it has one for the range. It's got the range between ranks. Does it have the range? It doesn't have the range, so we'd have to compute that. So this is going to equal the highest one there for the profit margin is going to be J7 minus J9. And that gives us the range. The range is somewhat important, but not all that important. But that shows us, and notice here on our highest profit margin is on the mug, which is 64.9%, and then the lowest profit margin is on the soundtrack CD, which is minus 41. So we have a range of 106. When I have a high range between numbers, that tells me I have a lot, I call a lot of volatility, a lot of variability. And volatility and variability are your greatest enemy because they are reflective of risk. If you fly from Oklahoma City to Dallas, I can guarantee you that as the pilot is making their approach, unless something has happened, they're going to have coordinates on that plane and coordinates from the tower, and they're going to have a beacon that's flashing and bringing that plane in. I don't know how many digits they go off, but the plane's got so many hundreds of feet to find. And so they'll, as they track through, there'll be a beam, and they'll lock onto the beam, and the plane lands. And then the quality of the landing depends on how hot you're coming in or how smooth, whatever's going on. Nonetheless, we've done a little bit of statistical work here. Let's do one more couple of things. We're going a little bit beyond, okay? But I don't want to bore anybody. And I want to make sure that everybody's getting kind of a good experience. So let's insert let's do a chart, okay? So click on insert, okay? And come over to charts and come up here and you're gonna see insert a column or a bar chart. We'll click on that. And we're going to get a 2D column. Now it's assumed, that we're working with this data over here, but we're not going to do that. Click on select data, and I'm going to get rid of series 1. I'm going to get rid of that and just simply delete it. And I'm going to add, and I'm going to get the profit margins I'm going to put the percent off. This is going to be a little easier to work with, probably. And by the series name. So I'm going to start with the dialog box up here. And the series name is going to be percent off. And then the series values are going to be G5 to G10. Okay. And so that's going to show me, now I've got the percent off, I've got our table, and I can add in any other variables if I care to. I can do some tailoring with the table, give it the y-axis a name. I can give it, or a label. I can label the horizontal axis. I can put in the series name. I can put in values, whatever. When we do some charting, we'll move into that realm. We did a little bit more than what we typically would do, but that's okay. And I'm gonna get rid of this chart. We just wanted to play around with it a little bit, and so we'll cut it, and it's gone. Okay. Now we're going to take one more little advanced trip here, since we're doing some extra stuff they don't have us do. Some of you looked a little bored the other day. I thought, okay, we can move a little bit faster pace. So let's do this. Take cell A, highlight the following array. Cell A4 to J10. Got it? All right. Now, you click Insert, and we're going to do a pivot table, which is just about the most powerful tool that we've got in Excel. A pivot table lets us take a table of data and move variables around and values around to look at it in some different ways. It's an attempt to marry the best of a database, like what we have with this table, with the best of what we would call an analytic engine, which is Excel. Now I'm going to put it in a new worksheet, okay, and click OK. And then we'll see the pivot table fields on the right, okay, and then the pivot table plate, what I call it, or whatever we're going to put it on, right there. You're going to notice there are 4 windows here. One is the filter. Think of these as frames around the data, okay? When people talk about building a data model, they're talking about how do I frame these data, and we'll start. The filter is the kind of big picture, so our filter is going to be the product, and I'm going to drag it down here, the filters, okay? And so I can look at all products, data about all products, or I can choose multiple products or just one. How many of you have worked with a pivot table before? Oh, this is new territory. Because I thought I'd bored you so much. I didn't want to bore you. I want you happy. So I want you leaving out here with the sweat popping out on your forehead, crying for your mama. Help me. I'm teasing. This stuff won't hurt you. It won't bite. It doesn't bite. You won't break the machine. Okay? We're just playing around with it. Pivot, but these are extraordinary. This is extraordinarily powerful but easy tool to use. Now, notice that we've got a thing for columns and for rows. Let's choose the column, okay? And our column is going to be the profit amount, okay? And there are the profit amounts for each of our products. And then there's even a grand total over there. And then we're going to get the profit margin, and we're going to put that in rows. Now, the truth is, we really should have them in the values data. Okay? So I want to take these out. So just remove them. Just take the grappling hook and get rid of them. And I want to do a filter. The filter will be the product code. Filter be the, pardon me. Yeah, excuse me. Now, when you do the pivot table, don't let it scare you. When you click outside of that thing, it disappears. When you click inside, it appears. So let's say Saturday night comes. No date. Nowhere to go. Get on Excel and click out and click in. Click out. See, it has a very soothing effect, doesn't it? All right. Most of my dates ended with a slap in the face, so I learned after a while, let's just stop dating. That's what my mom said. I did. And women across the world were much happier. Unfortunately, my wife has sinned greatly because she ended up with me as her husband. So I don't know what she did to offend God, but something terrible. Okay, let's put L product code. Let's put the product up here as the filter. And then the product code is going to be over here in the rows. Okay. And then we're going to look at, we're going to put in the columns, we're going to put, let's put cost up in the column. And now we're really not, we don't have enough, we really don't have enough truly dimensional data. But now in the values, let's put profit amount. Isn't that pretty? Voila. I can look at all the products I want. Got it? I can choose one product, two products, three, or all four. I can add or subtract stuff from the columns. I can move these around, and I've got the sum of the product amount in there. So what's the grand total? It's a nice little tool, and we'll get some time. You'll become well familiar with pivot table, and it'll become one of your best friends. Because when your boss at work says, "Here's some data about our products, etc., can you do some analysis?" This is going to be the easiest and best tool you'll have, unless you've been trained on using some of the more expensive commercial products. Okay, now we're going to do this. You're tired of me and I'm tired of you. I know, I understand. You got better stuff to do. I do too. I need to go back to the office and sleep for a while. It's time for my nap, my power nap. Actually, I have a class at 2 o'clock. I may nap through them. So I'm going to save me file. Save it as on my PC, on my desktop. And let's see here. And then what will you do with this file? You're going to submit it, correct? So get it submitted. And we've done hands-on 0, hands-on 1. And there's much rejoicing among God's children. Are you God's children? I hope you are. If you're not, let me give you a simple insight about me. My Bible says, go into the world and make disciples. It says nothing about persuading people. Read it. It says make disciples. Doesn't say ask, doesn't say persuade. It says make disciples. And we've come to that point where I ask an important question. Can anybody tell me what it is? Why are you people still in my lab? God bless you. Be careful. Have a safe and happy weekend. Go to church. I know some of you, you'll be sleeping in your bed like a heathen. Go on to church and be miserable. It's good for you. I'm teasing you. Thank you so much for your time, folks. I will see you next week. That nerve wracking? I'm sorry. Was it that nerve wracking? Oh, okay.